they're better than all the other schools just because the other schools don't promote religion. Like, don't fall for that trick bag. That's all I'm saying. Because look at Baylor. They really don't even deserve to have a sports team. They're nasty. They shouldn't be allowed to have a sports team until they get everybody cleaned out. Because that culture is just wrong.
All right, so finally, out of this topic.
I didn't want to...
Man, a lot of people got paid this week. Aaron Rodgers got $100 million. Okay, we're gonna write it out.
A shout out to people getting paid, including people who may or may not be in this room.
Carlos Dunlap got paid. Geno Atkins also got paid.
Yep, cornerstones of that defense.
And who else? You mentioned a couple other people.
Tyler Lockett got like a $30 million
Yeah,
extension.
Tyler Lockett got a $37.8 million.
Earl Thomas definitely ain't getting paid. But, yeah, it was Aaron Rodgers.
Dunlap got $45 million.
Rodgers got $100 million guaranteed, but he's going to get like 98, I think, in like the next 2 months.
But
3 months.
Are you ready for this? Get that finger on the dun 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 button. Khalil Mack still hasn't got paid.
Wait. Aaron Donald still hasn't gotten paid.
Yeah, well, Aaron Donald's deal is a lot closer than Max. From what I hear, what I've been reading, Donald's was supposed to happen this week. They're kind of just waiting for a good opportunity to announce it.
They restructured Robert Woods and Andrew Whitworth's contracts, too.
So the deal's definitely on the cusp. Mac, on the other hand...
Oh, no.
pretty much, the rumors are there's no progress in extension talks. John Gruden again has said it's a grueling process. And really, teams are already trying to trade for Khalil Mack. They're hearing it's going to cost at least 2 picks because the team really isn't motivated to make a deal. But even, I think since we've been on air, Ted Wynn with The Athletic tweeted out a picture of Khalil Mack rushing, and, well, Khalil Mack tweeted, "I miss it." Well, Khalil, we miss you. So,
Okay, you stan.
it's true, man.
By the way, Buffalo has a linebacker whose name is Khalil, and shout out to Malik on Twitter. I was like, yeah, they're not going to pay him either if they draft him. We're not paying guys named Khalil, apparently. That's just a thing now.
We're playing Khalil McKenzie.
I'll fight you if you say that.
Nah,
is he even
kidding.
still on the Chiefs roster?
Nah, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out after today, huh?
Shout out to his son for being a backup right tackle, I think, at USC. So that's good. Hopefully, they haven't really developed any good offensive linemen at USC in a minute. But, hey, I was totally wrong about Matt Khalil, by the way. I can say that now, years later.
And, yeah, but Mac is expected to miss some games, so I guess we'll just go right into it. You got a take or a tangent on that?
He'll be there when he gets there. The same thing goes for Earl Thomas. Actually, no, Earl Thomas is different. They just need to pay him or trade him. But with Donald and Mack, just pay him. Pay him and he'll come back.
Let me put it to you like this, man. This might be both take and both tangent. I think it's lazy to sit here and say, and I've thought about this, and I've probably have even said it on the podcast before, but I understand out there, we normal people can't just say, hey, I'm not going to show up to work today because I want more money. I get that train of thinking, but guess what? Most of us out here aren't the top pinnacle of whatever we do, number one.
We're not world-class athletes or
Number
world-class
two,
pushers.
Most of us aren't in the career field where we're only expected to last about 4 to 7 years. 4 years being the average and 7 years being the goal you got to hit to get a pension. Bruh. Next of all, we're not doing something where we can literally die and or have stripped away from us at any given second, and or completely lose our mind 10 to 15 to 20 years down the line?
I would say depending on the mental stress of certain jobs, you could argue.
Yeah, no, shut the fuck up. Because I already started at the first 3 things, so I know whatever job you're gonna bring up right now to be petty does not match that test of the first 3 things that I just said.
First responders, people who
first
work
responders
in
don't
wards,
last 4 to 7 years.
People who work in trauma centers.
Are you done?
No, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I agree with you.
No, you're just being dumb as fuck.
No, I'm playing devil's advocate. I actually agree with you. This is why I don't agree with you, because then you don't believe me. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you interrupted. I forgot what the last part was. I don't even remember what the last part was. The point is, man, stop comparing yourself to Khalil Mack. As much as simple as we like to make football here, even we aren't that lazy to make that comparison, because guess what? We, as ordinary, everyday people, don't have the kind of leverage or the kind of risk that Khalil Mack is dealing with. And if he doesn't want to put himself at risk, then who are we to tell him to do that? Just because we have this mindset as football players and people who watch football that you got to fall in line and do exactly what you're told, that's not always the case. And I don't blame Khalil Mack for not wanting to play for only 1 year guaranteed $13 million, even if it is all guaranteed. Like the chances are he could easily tear his ACL and be done, Boogie Cousins style. Then what are you gonna do? And guess what? Football ain't guaranteed money. So even if you sign, it would take another 1 year deal after that in that fucked up scenario that I'm describing. It still wouldn't even be guaranteed like at least Boogie's $5 million is.
Your guaranteed money isn't even guaranteed money if they decide to cut you early into the contract or trade you.
On that same note, Mike Freeman, one of my favorite writers who we always bring up on this show, brought up a theory that because of the rule changes, because of the way football is going, teams no longer want to play defensive players. And that's why we're seeing this back and forth with Khalil Mack. We're seeing this back and forth with Aaron Donald. We're seeing this back and forth with Earl Thomas. And that really, this is what we're going to expect moving forward. So do you have a take or a tangent on the future of the NFL being a place where defenders don't get paid as much as they should? Because in case you didn't know, Von Miller is the only defensive player with a top 10 overall salary, guaranteed money.
Yeah, he got $70 million guaranteed. Shout out to Keith. I told you. But nah. It's kind of sickening to see this happening, but we all saw with the rule changes in the preseason and just in the past 5 years alone, they don't want to pay defensive players because they want this to become a flag football type of league. They want to eliminate hits and they want to eliminate physics out of football, but they don't want to ensure the safety of defensive players, and they don't want to pay either. That's why corners can get paid, linebackers can kind of get paid, safeties and defensive linemen, edge rushers, those are the two positions they don't want to pay anymore.
I think we've already talked about it, right? I've talked about it multiple times. It's defensive players don't have the same marketability as offensive players, and that's a big reason why I believe this is happening. And also the fact is, if you look at the last few trends, like the teams that pay their quarterback the most money are not the teams that usually finish first because they're able to disperse all that extra money throughout the roster. And that's kind of the similar thing in NBA that we're seeing where, you know, teams are really winning when they have players on their rookie scale contracts, which is ironic because it's really just these professional athletes taking more advantage of younger players. But
that's another issue.
But it's another issue in itself, and we have Jamarcus Russell partially to thank for that. Yeah.
Sam Bradford too.
Shout out to him showing up for the talent show and just making it rain, which is actually hard as fuck. I'm not even gonna lie. I couldn't even front. Like, imagine like talent show. You just pull up in a Maybach and a mink coat and you're just making it rain. Like, at that point I can't even be mad at you. Like,
it's like, yeah, what else do you want me to do, guys?
Yeah, pretty much. But
that's a trash Raiders team.
But yeah, man, and now that I'm hearing this, it's kind of making me think the other way. Well, if that's the case,
he changed his mind. Plot twist.
If that's the case, maybe defensive players should be paid more because they are so rare, especially disruptive players who literally impact every single play, like Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald. That should really make them be paid more because they can't just be replaced by a bunch of young players like John Gruden or others may think.
Yeah, y'all get Arden Key, honestly, the fuck out of here. There's no way he's going to be this perennial all-pro sack artist. I'm not falling for it. No, thank you. He's slight. He's skinny. Yeah, he might be good. He may give you 8 sacks. But I doubt it.
And
he ain't going to give you 8 sacks back-to-back years and be an all-pro at defensive end and outside linebacker running a 4.85. I don't think so.
And my last, I guess, storyline on this whole thing, bringing it back to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers basically said he did a deal that's 3 years with most of it being guaranteed money because he didn't want to take the 5-year deal where they prorate all the money and it just sounds like a really big number because he knows that those last 2 years he might not even be on the roster or might not even want to play. So he's banking on himself in these 3 years. So in addition to that, what he did say is NFL players just don't have the same leverage as NBA players, and that's why you're not seeing the guaranteed contracts like you are in the NBA. So do you have a take or a tangent on that, KB?
Yeah, shout out to Kirk Cousins for turning down $90 million from the Jets to take $84 million with the Vikings. Money isn't always worth it. Sometimes it's better to be comfortable. But yeah, I feel like that's the only good thing about this is that it's driving up the price of guaranteed money for other skill position players. And if you're going to pay Odell, give him $65 million guaranteed, $95 million contract. You're going to eventually have to pay running backs. That's why that Saquon, like, in years from now, they'll probably teach it in a business class somewhere. The elements of that deal that Saquon Barkley signed where all of his $30 million is guaranteed. I mean, he got his college girlfriend pregnant, and it don't look like it might work out. So child support might be coming his way. But we've seen that all the time with athletes. But in this particular case, a running back got that guaranteed money, and it was already like top 5 all time for running backs ever. So I'll say offensively, the only people it's helping is offensive players. Defensive players are getting the shaft because they're already trying to get defense out of the game, essentially. And when it comes to guys like Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, really good defensive linemen, they want you to be good, but they don't want you to be, like, unstoppable. And I think that's kind of messed up. Like, if Lawrence Taylor was playing nowadays, I think they'd probably do him worse financially.
My tangent on this whole thing is, and I believe Ryan Holland said this on ESPN at radio earlier in the week. Basically, the NBA, the issue was, and the reason why they kind of went to a lockout was not that teams weren't making money or that players weren't being paid. The issue was teams were spending money and then complaining that they weren't making money, doing ridiculous things and not just running smart business operations and using that as an excuse to not split revenue with the players. So overall, the NBA just has a more transparent culture as far as money. And so I'd be interested to know more about how the NFL teams spend their money And because we all know they're a cash cow. So it doesn't surprise me